or maybe even flashing, like in this case. And what are some things you need to look at or maybe even fix in order to get rid of it? Now I'm going to be showing you how to do this on this 2005 Audi A4 Quattro with a 3.0 liter V6 engine. But of course, anything you learn in this video can be applied to any car, year, make, and model. Alright, so if you have a brake light on, the first thing you want to check is going to be the fluid level in your brake fluid reservoir. Now usually you can check out the minimum and maximum lines on the side of the reservoir, but a lot of times it's hard to read the fluid level off those lines. So what you want to do is to simply open the cap. Next, if there's a strainer, you might want to remove it so you can see better. And then you obviously want to check out the fluid level. And as hopefully you guys can see, we got plenty of brake fluid in this. But if you are low on fluid, you want to go ahead and top it off. But you definitely want to make sure you add the right type of fluid. A lot of times there's writings on the reservoir itself or on the cap. And as you can see, in our case, we're supposed to use .4 brake fluid. And you can obviously pick these up at your local auto parts store. But if you got time to plan ahead, these are cheaper online. I put links in the description box below if you're interested. So after you top it off, you want to check your brake light and see if it has gone away. Now before we go on to the next step, I think I need to mention that when handling brake fluid, you want to be very careful because it's very corrosive, and if you spill some on your panels, it's going to easily burn through the clear coat and damage your car's finish. But even more important than that, if you find out you're low on brake fluid, you want to find out exactly why. Because your brake system, all the way from your fluid reservoir through the brake lines to your brake calipers, is a closed system. That means you should not be losing any brake fluid under any condition. Now some common areas for brake fluid leaks are right where your brake fluid reservoir meets your brake master cylinder. You could have a leak right there. You could also have leaks at your brake caliper. For example, at this bleeder screw, if you've serviced your brakes recently and loosened this, you might have started a leak here. Also, you could have a leak from around your brake caliper pistons. Now there is a way you could be low on brake fluid in the reservoir but not have any leaks. And that's if you have worn brake pads. Alright, so your brake pads are inside your caliper like this, and your rotor goes between them. As these age and wear out, their contact surface, which is this part here, gets thinner and thinner. As these wear out and get thinner, your pistons have to extend out further. And as they extend out further, they require more brake fluid, which is supplied from your brake fluid reservoir, therefore reducing the level of your brake fluid. Basically means the good news is you don't have any leaks. Bad news is you need brake pads or you're about to need them. Alright, so on to the next step, which is checking your brake plates and making sure you don't have a bolt that's out. See, since this is a safety concern, a lot of cars, your brake light in the dash will light up or even flash if you have a bolt out. So here's the driver's side. As you can see, that works. And the passenger side. And as you can see, this one works as well. And we don't want to forget our third brake lamp. And it works. So next, if you have a newer car, or especially maybe a German car, on the brake pads themselves, you're going to have a wear indicator. So basically you would have two wires going to one of your brake pads, and then when it gets worn down past a certain limit, it would complete the circuit, and then you would get a brake indicator light on your dash. Not all cars have this, but I know that this Audi does. So we're going to remove the wheels and take a close look at our brake pads. Alright, so here's a close look at our brake pad. This front one, at least, it's got plenty of meat on it. And by the way, here's the connector for our brake pad wear indicator. These two wires go to the brake pad in the rear. So let me get you guys a shot of the rear ones as well. Alright, so the rear one we're going to have to see through our brake caliper. So here's our brake piston, and this is our brake pad, and this is our contact area. As you can see, there's plenty of meat left on this brake pad as well. Alright, next we'll check the passenger side. Alright, and again on this outer pad we got plenty of meat, and again plenty of material on the rear pad as well. What in the world is going on here? Now it should obviously go without saying, you want to make sure you do a close visual inspection of the wiring that's going to your brake pad, and also this connector on the harness side as well. Make sure nothing is at least physically damaged and it's in good shape. Alright, so if everything checks out, what we're going to do is actually go back to our brake fluid reservoir and check on our fluid level sensor, which is basically an open or closed switch on this car. And here's our brake fluid level sensor, this guy right here. It's connected to this float that's in there. And again, it's basically a switch. I believe this switch is closed, or in other words, it allows current to pass through it, when there's enough fluid level and that float is towards the top of this reservoir, and then it opens once the fluid level goes below a certain point. Testing this sensor is pretty easy. You would have to remove this connector. Now this is the connector side, but you can see that this is going to be a 2-pin or a 2-wire sensor. So if you want to test the sensor, you get your multimeter, put it to continuity, and then you want to attach your test pins to the 2 terminals on the sensor. And then let's say on your car, with this float all the way up top, if you have continuity, you want to just go ahead and press it down, push down the float, and then all the way down, you should not have any continuity. If you can't get the continuity to change from open to closed by changing the position of the float inside this reservoir, then that's going to indicate you have a bad sensor. If the sensor checks out, next you want to check and make sure you have power at the connector. So you put your multimeter to 20 volts DC voltage, and then ground 1 test lead. And then with your other test lead, you want to probe the 2 pins on the connector, and one of them should have voltage. And here we go. We got the second one has about 11 volts. Next you switch your multimeter to continuity, and then you want to test the other pin for continuity to ground. There we go. And here's the funny part of this video. Before you do all of this, and right after you check the level of your brake fluid and find out that that's not your problem, you want to give this float inside this reservoir the old finger bang technique. Sometimes it gets stuck in there in the bottom position, doesn't come up, and that's why you get the brake light. Alright, let's see if our brake light issue is fixed. And there you have it, folks. No more brake lights on the dash. And that's it. Problem solved. I guess I should have told you guys that earlier. But then again, if I had, you guys wouldn't watch the rest of the video and wouldn't learn anything about all the other issues that could cause your brake light to come on your dash. All you would learn is how to properly finger bang. And everyone already kind of knows how to do that anyway. Now before you go, I should let you know that I already bit the bullet and I bought a pretty expensive something. And if you want to find out what, it's going to be in my social pages. I'll put a link to my Facebook and Instagram pages in the description box that you can check it out. But needless to say, it will be featured in my upcoming videos in the near future, hopefully. That's it. Gonna wrap this up. If you enjoyed this video, do me a favor and share this video. Also check out these other related videos, of which I'll put links to on this side of the screen that you can click on. There'll also be links in the description box down below as well. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.